of human rights. So let's talk about Russia invasion of Ukraine violates international law and universal principle. This is very new kasi fresh pa tong balita na to. The conflict that may take place or at least the crisis that exists currently between the Russia and sa Ukraine and the way in which this is viewed through the lens of international law. So I'm gonna keeping it legal in regards talking about the Russia-Ukraine crisis that taking place currently at ang epekto ng international law sa gampanin nito at also ang bilang ng mga issue na highlighted sa crisis nito where this conflict has arisen the issue of sovereignty in relation sa Ukraine sa international law. So, talking about sa Ukraine's membership of European at dun sa pagsapi nila sa NATO, how this has affected a number of aspects of the crisis. Nitong January nga lamang, no, we've seen tensions arising in the, along the Russia-Ukraine border, Ukrainian border. In fact, mayroong up to 120,000 Russian troops that are positioned around the border at halos masakop na nito ang entire Ukraine. Now, Russia has begun by making claims, this being simply a training exercise at meron ding issues tungkol sa potential invasion ng Ukraine which is impossible na mangyari. Now, this has been signified by the heightened tensions and growing international concern that exists a lot in the region of the world. We've seen concern from the UK, from the members of European unions. We've seen a lot of concerns sa iba't ibang union dyan, sa Germany, sa France, sa Spain, and etc. And also we've seen concern sa United States represented by NATO or what we call North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Ultimately, the argument that is presented by Russia is against sila dito sa eastward expansion ng NATO sa former Soviet states. Now they see this as an east. However, it should be noted that any member of NATO has joined NATO voluntarily. So we need to bear that in mind tuwing pag-uusapan natin ng potential arguments presented by Russia. And ultimately, NATO was established para protektahan ng Western states against an overbearing Soviet Union before the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. At may mga pagtatalong ang nabuo tungkol sa issue na ito, no? Just like whether or not NATO even should exist in the world that we live in today. And this exactly the argument that Russia are proposing this, being that NATO's eastward expansion into former Soviet state. It is something that they see at least an implied of aggression, and they specifically are opposed to the possibility any possibility of Ukraine joining NATO. Therefore, the idea of Ukraine joining NATO isn't exactly one that is, impossible to visualize. Dagdag mo pa yung sinabi ni President Putin regarding sa negotiation just to resolve the crisis. So we can see here na meron talagang conflict, and ultimately, we could see the potential of an invasion by Russian into Ukraine. So masasabi natin na hindi particularly pleasant ang relasyon ng Russia at ng Ukraine. I think that if we're going to talk about international law, we should also talk about not just the direct use of force that is possible by Russian Federation in the invasion of Ukraine, but also the establish of sphere in influence which could also have a negative impact of the state sovereignty of Ukraine. Ang dami nilang na-violate, hindi lang ang international law, hindi lang madami pa eh. Sa sobrang daming nadamay ng mga inosente, crime of aggression, international humanitarian law, and so on and so forth. And that's include what Kuya Ardil mentioned kanina, the Article 45. For me, napaka-importante lang na i-highlight ang issue na ito sa Russia and Ukraine as it relates to international law and universal principle. So,